Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Maria Gonçalves podcast. I'm your host, Maria Gonçalves, and today I am joined by five incredible international mediums. So, welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Lovely to be here, Maria.
And we are going to go around our Hollywood squares, and I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves. I'm going to start with Michelle.
Oh, hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Falcone. My business is called Come Home to Your Heart, and I'm a psychic medium, energy worker, trained in many, many different modalities. And I'm just really glad to be here. Thank you for having us, Maria.
And Dayna.
Oh, hi, everyone. My name is Dayna Louise, and you'll find me in Facebook under Dayna Louise She. I'm a psychic medium here in central New South Wales, Australia. And once again, just be delighted to be joining such heart-centered mediums for another chat.
Excellent. And Liliana.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. And my name is Liliana Biesterveld. I am a psychic evidential medium, and you can find me in my, social media by medium Liliana Biesterveld. Thank you so much.
And Keshette.
Hello, everyone. I agree with what Dana said. I am so happy to be here with such heart-centered ladies, and we're going to tie those hearts in soon. My name is Keshette Burton. My business is Soul Connections with Keshette. You can find me on Facebook or my website, soulconnections.info. I am as well an international evidential medium and evidential psychic in Dallas, Texas.
Nice. And Christine.
My name is Christine, and I am a psychic medium, and I'm from Canada, within Ontario, Canada. And I'm just very excited to be here as well with all of you wonderful ladies.
Welcome, welcome, ladies. And for those of you that are watching us on YouTube and you may be seeing the color red, I want to say happy Valentine's to everybody out there. And today is a special episode because we're going to talk about Valentine's, but also self-care. And I'm going to start with Michelle. So do you want to start us off, Michelle?
Sure. Thanks, Maria. So when we were talking about how to talk about Valentine's Day, to me, when I look around, a lot of it has become very commercialized. It's all about what kind of flowers you get or what kind of card you buy. And I think sometimes people tend to forget that it's really about love, like the divine type of love that you show each other and you tell each other and you spend time with each other and you really love each other. But the only way you can really love someone else is if you have self-love and you can give it to them. Because if you don't focus on yourself and have enough self-love, then you're kind of drawing on an empty bank account, so to speak. And at some point, your checks are going to bounce. And I think a lot of times the people who understand this the most are women, because that's just our nature to give. And I'm not excluding men, just saying as a general overall, women tend to give to the point of depletion. And we don't really recognize that it's time to do something for ourselves. So I would love to talk about that a little bit.
Self-care is super important. Dayna.
And I was just going to add to that, Michelle. I think that's predominantly a lot of women that I see. I see this pattern of women that we have this, I think it's cross-cultural as well. As women, we're nurturers. We put ourselves last. We give to other sick people first. You look at the family photograph album and it's mum behind the camera taking the pictures and not always stepping forward and saying, hey, I need to be included, even though sometimes she's put the whole event on and created the moment. So not answering that personal need, that personal call within. And as women move through life and they start to come to that tail end of the parenting perhaps, or starting to ask the questions of what it is that I need, what is my soul purpose, what am I here to do beyond meet the needs of others. And I think that's that really beautiful moment where we check in with self and ask ourselves the questions that perhaps we didn't take the time to allow ourselves to think of, our needs, our wants, our desires. And it really is an opportunity for transformation, I think. And, you know, Valentine's wonderful. If you've got a partner, that's fabulous. But really, as you were saying, Michelle, I agree totally, is that you really have to have that strong relationship with self so that you vibrate at the highest frequency, that you attract that really beautiful divine love towards us.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I love that. I love that. And speaking of that, I was thinking of the subject dating yourself. How many of us date ourselves? And Valentine's, so often people make reservations with your partner, or now what I really enjoy is there's Galentines. So girlfriends will get together and have a girlfriend party or girlfriend dinner. So it's called Galentines, and it's a way to celebrate each other. But I was thinking of how many date reservations are going to be made, and tying it back to self-love, and how often have any of us actually dated ourselves?
Yeah.
You know, when you go on a date, you're asking all these questions of somebody and you're getting to know them. And really, as we go through this journey of life, it's about self-discovery. And how often are we checking in with ourselves and saying, do I like this? Do I like that? Maybe I used to, but I've shifted. And so checking in with self and dating self, I think, is really important too.
Oh, that's some good points. I like that.
Oh my
Christine?
gosh, that reminds me of that movie Runaway Bride, where they ask her how she likes her eggs and she has absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
And she says to the guy, well, how do you like your eggs? And she realizes all this time she's liked her eggs the way the other person has liked their eggs, and she's never really discovered what she wanted, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That was with Julia Roberts. I love that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I do too.
That was a good movie. Christine.
You know what, I agree with everything completely. But to add into it is, there's a lot of emotions that go on with Valentine's Day. There's anticipating, is there something going to come my way? Is who's going to think of me? And then there's also a loneliness too. And you can have a loneliness even in the relationship, because there's loneliness to be seen. Like, this is the day to be seen, or this is the day to be validated in a relationship. Which one day of a year it shouldn't be, should be every day. But I like the idea of the self-date, because even just a measurement of where your growth is on Valentine's Day, right? Like, where have my strengths been? Where have I, depleted myself? Where can I, it's sort of a self-evaluation, and taking the time with that is an indulgence you don't often give yourself. And we might not give ourselves permission to do that, because that might look selfish or narcissist. Oh, we're just spending time with ourselves. But we are the central focus as women in many relationships. Even wherever you look, we are sort of the balancing between both. I also think it's important for young girls to see how we handle ourselves, and modeling that is very key. And that could be within our own, nieces, like in your neighborhood, whatever it is. But when you see younger children, especially girls, recognizing that it is worth the time and it's important to take time for yourself and care, and also teach young gentlemen raising up that, we are self-sufficient women, and we can buy ourselves flowers, and we can indulge that and be not apologetic for it. So I think it's a good time, maybe this Valentine's, to start something, a tradition for yourself, right? Whatever that may be. And indulge in it. Spoil yourself.
And I think sometimes to this commercialization that's happened around Valentine's Day is that, if a female's not in receipt of flowers or cards and especially we're talking about youth then, and I think that's the grassroots level we need to talk about, is from this place of self-love, teaching our women what it is to love self, because I know I wasn't taught at school.
Right.
And that's something that I really had to learn upon the way. And quite often young girls are looking for that external validation of their self-worth. Did I get flowers? Is someone loving on me? Is someone appreciating me? But really, the work is, how do I love myself? What makes me feel good about me? We have a thing called, self-sovereignty, sovereignty over self. Never hand those keys to another to give you permission on how you choose to feel about yourself. And I think that's a danger sometimes, is that we have to build ourselves strong, maintain our sense of purpose and why we're here, and really fall in love with oneself, our authenticity, our past, the previous versions of self. All those things make us who we are. And I think we have to learn to celebrate it and appreciate that first before we can then truly blend with another and have that equality and that meeting of hearts and minds. But it is with the youth here, because when I look back over my youth, I mean, I look at some self-examination thinking, gosh, I was looking for that external validation.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be made to feel good? But I think as women, if we invested the energy we invested into our relationships, into the relationship we have with self when we were younger, how different the journey might have looked is what I'm saying. So I guess I'm speaking from the younger listeners, perhaps listening, is that if you don't get flowers this Valentine's, know that you're beautiful, know that you're loved, and choose to do something for yourself. As Keshette says, treat yourself, take yourself out on a date, and learn to appreciate all the things that make you authentically you.
I think that's also tying into what you're saying, external validation. I think that's the fault of the human ego, is we all, whether it's ladies or gentlemen, from a very young age are taught, don't you want to make me proud? Don't you want to make your teacher proud? Don't you want to make your team proud? Don't you want to make mommy, daddy proud? It's never, how do you make yourself proud? Working hard for yourself and showing your own self-worth. So it's this very interesting psychology of it, right? That we go through our whole life trying to make everyone else proud and happy. And I think most of us get to a point where you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you're sick and tired of not feeling validated or accepted or loved. And I think that's where kind of the snap happens, where you go, wait a minute, maybe I need to do for myself. And then there's, I think, the aha moment from there that, oh, it's almost like a subconsciousness that starts to happen, where when you're taking that time, as someone mentioned earlier, filling the cup, Michelle, right? You said filling the cup. When you're taking that time to fill your cup, your self-worth naturally starts to go up. And then you're saying, oh, I feel good about myself in this way, and I know what makes me happy, and I don't have to do it to make someone else proud. So then the expectation changes from what you expect from your friends or your partner, or maybe the expectation of what a date looks like. Because I don't know about you ladies, but I know that when I first started dating, speaking of Valentine's itself, is I definitely wanted to be given the flowers and wined and dined and everything. But as you become more established in yourself and your relationships, I'm just fine with a Netflix and chill. I don't need to have all the other things, because I also understand that it's the quality time being spent together, and it doesn't have to mean doing all the extras. It can mean just being together in that moment and listening and enjoying that time. So I just love this conversation. So good.
It is. And you know what I was thinking when you were saying that? And I'm wondering, like, for our viewers, listeners, the pressure that there is to be in a relationship at Valentine's.
Yeah.
And then for those that are not, then it becomes, well, am I not worthy? Because I've heard those conversations with younger people. It's like, well, they're in a relationship. Am I not lovable? Why am I not in a relationship? And I think Valentine's triggers that for some people. Yeah. So
I'm
just
gonna say,
reminding us the self-love.
sorry.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and I can agree with all of what has been shared. I have a group of friends, that are about my age, so they're not very young, and we have been talking about the topic of self-love, you know. So for us at this age, there are people that I feel that we're not there yet, or they're asking me, how do I start this journey? Because I wasn't taught how to love myself. You know, in my family, if you thought about you first, you were selfish, you were egotistic, whatever. And so it's like it's been mentioned, you know, it's been passed down.
Mhm.
So, you know, we can start at any age, which is great, you know, to understand and accept that we're, you know, we have to change that. We have to change that. And so we talk about, you know, so what do we do? You know, there are people that are, you know, haven't been in a spiritual journey like, you know, all of us here. So they're very, you know, puzzled, like they just don't know where to start. And I think that part of it for me is being, it kind of has happened as a result of my spiritual journey. You know, we talked about, you know, that break that sometimes can happen, that can be really ugly, you know, it can be, you know, heartache, you know, whatever, something happened and we're in that space. And we can start there by recognizing that we, you know, we're not taking care of ourselves. We keep focusing on others. Our thoughts are always about what are they doing? Did they do this? Did they do that? Did, you know, and we avoid having that conversation and that self-awareness. So I think that for me has been like the first step, which is so hard by itself, not to wanna think about others, you know, and then we talk always about gratitude, you know, finding things that we can be grateful for. I do feel that's very important that we recognize that at any age. I mean, I've talked to women that are much older than I am, and they don't have a clue. And so that's really, it's been sad, but it's been very telling for me, you know, that I need to work on this so that I can actually find ways to raise my self-love and self-esteem, which is all interconnected, so that I can, you know, I can start really learning to love myself.
Here's an interesting fact. I was having a conversation with a lawyer friend this week, and she was mentioning that now is the highest rate for divorce. People file just before Valentine's. And I thought that was interesting. And I'm like, oh, that's so fascinating, because you finally find the self-love for yourself.
Mm.
And
Do you think it also do you think it also coincides with after the holidays though? Since the holidays
yeah.
can be so stressful that it's like the whole beginning of the new year, but then yeah, right before Valentine's. That's very interesting.
And then I start wondering, because I don't know, and I'm sure there are probably studies out there. I wonder if that's for breakups too, like other than people that are legally married. Then I'm like curious, like, oh, I wonder if it's for that, where people are finally like, I love myself enough not to be in this relationship that doesn't feed my soul.
Mhm.
So that was interesting. Yeah, and then I would think too, because I remember, I don't know what they do now in high schools, but I remember in high schools where they would buy the flowers, buy the roses. Like, did you get a rose? Didn't you? And then that whole, it's almost like you feel humiliated, like I didn't get a rose, but that person got 15 roses. And yeah, it's like, it's interesting the stuff that happens to us as kids, or even Valentine's, where you bring the Valentine's cards to school, and then one kid gets more Valentine's cards, another one doesn't. It's like, I'm not as loved, they're more loved. But having said that, that was just like my experience, things I witnessed. I don't know what it's like today. Like, do some of you have young children in school? Like, do they still do that? Or in high schools, do they still do that?
I know, like with my kids and plus within high school, things have changed a little bit. The Valentine's card, everybody has to receive one, so you get a class list, and everybody's expected to. If you don't, you buy for the whole class.
Yeah.
So everybody's equal to that. Um, And in high school, they do still send out the flowers, but it's more in friendship, not romantic, if you will, but it's unequal. Like they come to your class and here's yours, here's yours, here's yours. And Maria, you got 2 and Keshette got 12. Like it's still like that. And then you're always ridiculed for who got you that one, Maria. Like it's never safe. And they also do a quiz where it's like a Scantron, and it's like meet your mate. The kids love it, but then there's a lot that don't, because it sets you apart or it sets you up for ridicule, right? Like I said, it can be very lonely. It can highlight your own insecurities, I guess, what I'm trying to say, you know?
But I was thinking, isn't that so? It comes back to that premises of teaching that self-awareness, and that voice within is basically shaping our reality of how we see ourselves. So I think moving that voice, because we quite often are in that mode of self-criticism. Sometimes when you're younger, you're comparing yourself to others. And we do carry that on as adults. As much as we say we find I'm doing my own thing, we look to others to see how we should be viewing ourselves. And I really think cultivating, particularly with, I will say women, because I predominantly work with women, young women, and giving them permission to be okay to be solo, letting them invest the energy into their own pursuits first, because we come back to knowing thyself before we blend with another, knowing what it is we want, what are our boundaries, what are we going to accept and not accept. And when we have these young relationships, sometimes that self-concept hasn't been firmly established. And in that moment, it's easy for someone to lose sight of themselves, their goals, who they are, what's important to them, what they value. And they can be compromised. And quite often we know from that nurturing perspective that the woman will step back, keep the peace, or, make sure that everyone else's needs are met. So I'd love to send the focus now on Valentine's Day to be less about the love the romantic love, but more about how we best love ourselves so we can then best love others. Because we can't really offer that depth of love until we've really learnt to accept ourselves in the fullness of who we are, the good and the bad. And giving women and even children permission to be okay with exactly who they are. Because let's face it, ladies, we're not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And you're never going to please everyone. There's always going to be someone that doesn't like this about you. But if you're formed within who you are, like know thyself, and if you're okay with being different, you're going to attract to you from that place someone that meets you in the middle and that celebrates the best of you. And that's the kind of healthy love we want for young men moving through. Someone that builds them not up and not breaks them down. And that's true love.
I think this goes back to that modeling. Like there's so much that we've grown up to have. And again, it goes back to that is who taught you in this panel how to self-love? Like who modeled that for you? Did you see that? And that's the thing. It's like even you look on like TV or did you see any woman that is in control of themselves and is in a powerful woman that can self-love? That's not somebody that is labeled as being erratic or egotistical, like something that's too extreme. Because if you self-love, then you're an extreme irrational person, right? You're unloved. I can't sit there and say, I learned that from my mother or my grandma. It just never happened. What I did learn is how to self-sacrifice to acquire love. I learned that if somebody's upset, you step in and how to make it better. Even if you have to apologize for something you have not done. I'm sorry, the temperature was wrong in the room to make you feel uncomfortable. Let me take care of that, right? Those were my roles, but it is interesting that we've never, and then who's around you to model that? And then you look at I look at my children, or you look at children around you going, where's that modeled? And Valentine's Day, maybe that's a reset day. Maybe it's a reset of love day. It's a reaffirmation of, how do I love myself best? Or what do I love the most about myself? And focus on the things that you love about yourself. As opposed to how you can help other people feel loved or feel validated by the external, right? It's just, you have to rebrand it. because it is very commercialized, as Michelle. It's so commercialized and it's so isolating. It's like, you know,
It
I find
is,
interesting.
it is so isolating, but you know what? I'm just gonna say for the people out there, like I got divorced from my children's father. It's 20 years ago, last year in September 2024. And I think I've been with a romantic partner one time for Valentine's Day since then. And so for Valentine's Day, if I go out and I see some beautiful flowers, I buy them for myself. I make a point of doing something adventurous. I don't have to be with my friends. I don't have to be with somebody else. If I see something interesting to do, if I see a concert somewhere or I see a meeting that I want to go to at, on Meetup or whatever, I just go and talk to people and meet people. You'd be surprised how many people are not with romantic partners and just go have a good time. You know what I mean? Go to your favorite restaurant, order your favorite dessert, and sit there and, bring your book and just enjoy yourself. Life is short, way too short to be looking to someone else and to even try to please somebody else because you have no control over how they perceive what you're doing. So you can do your very best and it still may not be good enough, but you can certainly do your best for you and it can be good enough for you. For the people who say they don't know how to love themselves, I'll just say, whatever you would do for your friend in that situation, do it for you. Whatever you'd say to your friend in that situation, say it to yourself because you're your friend. And if you're not, get on it, girl. Start making friends with yourself.
Yes, I love that.
I
Yeah.
love that.
I
I was
remember.
just gonna add to Michelle's statement because I was thinking like after I left my ex, I felt really good being by myself. And I realized how uncomfortable other people were that I wasn't in a relationship. It's like, well, why aren't you in one? But I like being by myself. I like doing things like I don't have to check in and sacrifice myself so they feel good. It's like, no, I could do what I love. And I do that, like, on my birthday every year, I get a reading, and I remember one of the mediums that gave me a reading, she's like, "But Maria, you could do this for yourself." I'm like, "Sure I could, but this is me taking care of me, and this is something I love, and it's a gift I give to myself." And I think that's super important because we don't give ourselves enough permission to give ourselves stuff. Like I will go get manicures and pedicures all the time. And people be like, "Oh, but like, are you going to a wedding?" No, I just do it because that's me giving myself self love, self-care, and I love doing it for myself and it feels good and I don't need an occasion. So I think that's super important because I always get, is it a wedding? Is it a shop? Like, where are you going? What's special occasion? No special occasion. It's just something I do for me because I deserve it. But it does take a while, I will say, to get yourself into that mindset instead of always giving, 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 because you get burnt out. And I have been burnt out. I'm gonna say that right there. And now I feel like I need to balance more. And when I start getting burnt out, I need to do a checklist for myself, be like, okay, wait, why am I not putting myself at the top of the list first? It's kind of like the whole airplane thing. You put the mask on yourself because you can't help the others if you're passed out on the plane. Like that whole analogy with the mask dropping down. Yeah, and now Keshette?
Well, I agree with everything. I was going to agree, piggybacking off Michelle, is how often do we do something for our friend and tell our friends, you deserve it, you work so hard, you're so amazing, you're so beautiful, you're so intelligent, you've achieved so much, I'm so proud of you. But then or even like spending more than we initially would have on a gift for somebody else, right? But we won't buy that something for ourselves. We won't tell ourselves, I'm so beautiful. I'm so intelligent. I've achieved so much this year. Look at how far I've come, and I came to that realization a few years ago in a personal situation where I went, I don't even let my friends treat me, or I don't let my friends treat me like this, and I don't treat my friends like this. So why would I allow someone else to?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I think receiving is a huge struggle that, speaking of women, women especially have. Receiving, we want to validate why we're not worthy, why we can't buy that for ourselves, why we can't take the time to do it. But I'll tell you what, we will find the time to do it for somebody else or buy it for somebody else or whatever it is. And it's just so interesting why there's that deflection, almost like we're afraid to maybe that's part of the fear as I'm talking, is because again, we've been trained from young. Look at what I did for you. Look at what I'm giving you. I was thinking, Christina, as you were talking about the propaganda of it all, starting from a very young age, kindergarten, where it's the little heart candies and the cute little stickers that say all the things, and they're made for all the kids, and you do it for the whole classroom and everything. And it's like, it's a sweet sentiment, but that's where it starts.
Mhm.
That's where that thought process starts, and so I don't know, I was going to bring this back around, but I took the time to stand up for myself in a situation that was profound, in that I said no more. I deserve so much more for myself, and I can receive this. If someone wants to give me a gift, I can receive it and be blessed by it. Why would I want to take away from their blessing? If I would bless them the same way, why would I want to take away from their blessing? And so part of that, how do you start the self-love? It might be something as small as self-care. Using that delicious bar of soap in the shower that you like, that lathers up and smells and starts your day a certain way. Or maybe it's taking the time to say, I am so damn proud of myself for what I achieved this week. I wrote this paper, or I finished this job by a certain time, or I got my nails done, or whatever it is, it's taking time to celebrate your personal achievements, and maybe self-care practices, changing things up. What makes you feel amazing on the outside might make you feel amazing on the inside, vice versa. What do you ladies think?
I actually, you know what? I love that, Keshette. And I was thinking what you guys were talking about, being single and these kind of holidays and whatnot that make it more like in your face. But you can also be in a relationship. I've been with my husband for a long, long time. And I realized at one point, because we got married when we were so very young, that I had to have my own life. I had to start my own, journey, so that, he has his own, stuff, his work, the things he's passionate about, and they might not be aligned with what I like. They might be so different. So I knew that I had to have my own likes, have my own goals, my own friends. Having my own life is so important, and that for me is part of self-love and self-care, and I will be very interested on, like I was telling you guys, the things that you guys do to contribute to that self-love, because for me, I understand without a doubt that I can't give what I don't have. So I have to start within myself. And that is a whole, I mean, it just by itself takes a lifetime to understand who I am, so that I can love and accept myself with my shortcomings and my assets and whatnot, and praise Liliana and be there for her and hold her when she feels lonely, and not expect that this one person is going to fulfill me, because it ain't going to happen. And I think that's where a lot of times we can get confused and get angry, because they're not doing it for us, And I know now that my job is to take care of myself, in all those area. So I would love to hear you guys. What do you guys do?
Well, I'm going to suggest something that took me a long time to learn this, because I was that nurturing mother, putting everyone else's needs before my own, is learning to say no to others and not go back on that. Go, oh, no, I can't. And then finding a way, because we're falling into that pleasing role, that self-sacrificing role. And equally, the power of saying yes to yourself. So if there's an urge, a spontaneous urge, like I'm driving past the ice cream shop and ice cream, you go, oh no, I'll save that for something else. You know, and you just say no, all these little no's that you say to yourself rather than saying yes to yourself. And yet if a child asks, you're more likely to do it for them. So it's just these little things. But I think, you know, for me, it's that inner dialogue. You know, if you've been in a partnership, whether that's mother, father, brother, any significant relationship where there is a love involved, and you've allowed another to dictate your sense of self, or you've listened and ingested their version of yourself, and you've learnt to borrow that and it's layered down over top of you. I think that's the inner voice, that inner critique that we have sometimes impressed upon us as women, really learning to stand in your own power and saying, well, I'll take on board what you're saying to me if it's coming from a place of love, but learning when to say, no, that's not the truth of who I am. Because, you know, I always say, there's two people in life, those that build you up from a place of love, but equally those that seek to break you in the name of love. And there's a danger in that for women. And I say, never hand over that sovereignty of self to another, to have the power to tell you who you are or how you should feel about yourself, let alone a Valentine's Day being some sort of indication of your self-worth. You're a beautiful woman. We've all got this authentic voice, this authentic nature. We're all beautiful in our own right. And we need to actually band together and celebrate each other as women sometimes. I think there's that division that happens when women partner off and busy with families, and we come to this stage in life and our families are growing up or we're doing more of our own thing. I think there's just an opportunity to come together as women and celebrate everything that makes us different, everything that society in earlier on tried to make us the same, you know, in the magazines, in the music that was, you know, like some sort of hypnotic script being fed to us. We get cut to return back to self, that authentic self, that place that naturally celebrates the differences in other women and actually appreciates the differences. I love when I meet a woman who's really come into her own, that says yes to herself. I don't think she's egotistical. I love that she has the strength in knowing herself. I celebrate that because it says to me, I know the journey she's been on to get to this place. It's like climbing a mountain and planting a flag. And I celebrate every woman who's got to that point, even against the most arduous journeys and the most difficult moments.
Hear, hear.
Oh, I'm like, okay, so if you guys are listening and you need a speaker, just message Dayna.
Well, I just want all the women in the world to love themselves more. Do not let another tell you what you're worth.
Yeah.
It really is when life gets messy, when we enter into that self-doubt, when we choose to believe someone else's idea of who we are. Who can know oneself better than oneself? Remember that.
Exactly.
And the more that you start putting energy into yourself, to do things for you, to build yourself up, to find what interests you, where your passions are, pursue those, you will naturally draw to you people that build you up from a place of love, because you're saying yes to you and your needs, your wants, your desires. And that's not selfish. That is really the key to finding that beautiful love that we seek. We celebrate it and see it within ourselves first, and then naturally attract and draw that to us.
I want to say this self-love and self-growth can come with a warning label, which is it may be uncomfortable at first. Because if you keep doing what you've been doing and you're expecting a different result, it's never going to happen. And it is stepping out of that comfort zone, that is going to strike that match, and it's going to strike that change. And one may be so uncomfortable doing it, but guess what? If it's so uncomfortable, know that you're doing the right thing. The uncomfortableness is out of fear. It's out of, again, the unknown, but know that that means you're headed in the right direction of discovery. You know, you got to dig through it all, and you have to take a leap of faith in order to break through it and in order to make that shift happen. Because I know that we've all been there. It's even as little as when someone gives you a compliment and there's a deflection there. Like, oh my gosh, I really love your hair today. Oh my gosh, it's so dirty right now. I'm on day 3, you know, or, oh, I really love that blouse, you know, oh, this old thing. Oh, I just took it out of the back of that. You know, it's like, how many times have we been given a compliment? You know, oh, is there something about you that's glowing? Oh no, I didn't even wash my face today. You know, and that takes practice. Thank you so much. I received that. And you know what? And then you say something about you. I really love this about you. You are glowing today as well. I couldn't pinpoint it, but I just want you to know that. Or I really love your shoes. Where'd you get them? And I have found that I've actually told women this, and in working with them, I've had these conversations where they're like, I just can't take a compliment. And I'm like, oh, I totally get it. I totally get it. That is, I think, one of the hardest things, because again, you feel selfish if you're receiving that compliment. You know, and I tell them, receive the compliment. I receive that. Thank you so much. And you know what I love about you? And then it makes you feel like you're contributing to it. But allowing that receiving breaks that chain of deflecting. So it feels uncomfortable at first, but then you start to open up to the process of change.
Oh, that is so true. So I have a story I want to share with you guys about accepting, and Keshette, you reminded me, and I love the way you said it. Why would I take, how did you say it, the blessing away from them if they want to give me something? So I was watching a friend on Instagram, and she was showcasing some cards. Absolutely beautiful, stunning. And I'm like, oh my God, they're so beautiful. Because you guys know I love tarot cards, I love oracle cards. And I follow a bunch of friends that create oracle and tarot cards, and I love it. And then that morning, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm gonna go to their website and I'm gonna buy their cards. That was my intention. And then I'm like, okay, but first I want to go do meditation for half an hour, and because I was just starting my day, right? And I'm like, and as soon as I'm done, I'm gonna get on the computer and I'm gonna order a deck because I love to support my friends. And then while I'm sitting in the power, when I'm done, I go and look at my phone, and they had messaged me, and they're like, Maria, I would love to gift you a deck. I was like, oh my God. Okay, so maybe 10 years ago, I'd be like, no, I can't accept it. I will give you all the money. I don't want to do that. And today it was like, yeah, thank you so much. I'm so excited. But it does, like you said, Keshette, it takes time to shift your mindset to say, thank you. Why is it so hard for us to receive? I
Yes,
find that
thank
so
you.
fascinating.
Yes, receive and thank you. Why is it?
Yeah. I don't know. What do
I
what do
think
the rest of the ladies think?
We don't feel like we deserve it. Like, even if
Yeah.
somebody says something kind or does something nice, sometimes it's like, there's a trick behind it. They want something, or they're not sincere about it, or that compliment, oh my God, now it turns the stories, they were sarcastic to me about it. Like, you reject it. And it's so easy to go into that because I'm like, oh, I love your hair. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, or you look nice in that shirt. Are you saying I'm getting, like, do I look bloated? Like, you come up with your own insecurities and you project them onto that compliment. And I think it's just like, we're comfortable knowing that we're less sometimes, I think. I speak for myself. If I know that I'm less, I'm comfortable there because I know what to expect there. And that's a self-confidence piece, right? Yeah, it is hard. That's my self-love, Liliana, is when people say a compliment, and I had received something at work, somebody had sent me something, hey, I just wanted you to know, and it was a compliment to me.
Yeah.
Right away, I was like, "Oh, I can tell you 40 reasons why that's not a comp." And then I just sat and I thought, you know what? It came at a time that I needed that. And I just went back, thank you so much. That really means a lot to me. And
Yeah.
just responded and said, well, you
Yay.
deserve to hear it. And you know what? I felt good because I believe what she has said to me. I believe that. And I took that as truth. Like that's a building block for me. And that's self-care, that's self-love right there is thank you. And then feel it. Like that's nice.
I get
Can
super
I,
excited.
can I say something about that? Because that's so true. And I think that one of the things that I personally try to do is be okay sitting in the discomfort. Being okay with knowing I already know this pattern and I'm going to do a contrary action. So I'm going to sit on it and I'm going to smile and I'm going to say thank you and just take a deep breath and be okay with it. Because a lot of times the first thing that comes to my mind is to respond the way, like it's been said, it's a pattern, I've always done that. So I want to go there because that's what my mind is telling me. That's what I've been doing all these years. And I know now that sometimes I just need to sit on the discomfort and embrace it and be okay with it because this too shall pass and I'm going to be okay. And it's a lot of practice, 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 doing things that are uncomfortable, that are going to actually pay off because after I do it so many times, I know it gets easier for me and then I'm okay. And it's like it's a natural thing, but it takes practice, like you guys are saying, doing things and being okay.
Yeah. So I was sitting here thinking, and I'm going to take it to the mediumship level. So you do a dem, you do a reading. The person received the reading and they're like, oh my goodness, that was so amazing. Thank you so much. Do you guys judge it? Do you say, oh, I could have done so much better? It was all right. Not in front of your client, but you're like, oh, or are you like, thank you? Because I know in the beginning I would be hard on myself. And now I'm just like, I get highs on thank yous. It's like, thank you. I am like super excited. How are you guys? So, because I just wanted to go touch upon mediumship because I know a lot of mediums are going to be listening to this podcast and psychics are going to be listening to this podcast about self-love on your journey as you're developing as a medium too. Yeah, what
I'm
do you
gonna
think?
say, oh, sorry, I'm gonna say that my intention is to always do my very best and to bring through the messages with as much clarity as I can. And some days are more clear than other days.
Yeah,
Some communicators are more clear than others, and we speak more of the same language.
yeah,
Um, so when somebody tells me thank you, I feel so much gratitude that they thought to say thank you,
yeah.
that I was given the opportunity to connect with them, to connect with their loved ones. So now when somebody says thank you to me, I accept it and I continue that gratitude on towards spirit as well as accepting it for myself.
I like that because I'm also thinking for those that are listening, or viewers or listeners, for those that are brand new and new on their mediumship journey, to have more self-love and compassion for themselves and not be so hard because they have a judgment of what they need to achieve as mediums, as psychics, as healers, and to accept those thank yous from the people, whether they're paid clients or free clients, however you provided the service, to be open to receiving the thank you. Because that's important, because I think that is part of our development too, that self-love for ourselves, but also accepting where we are and not being so judgy with ourselves. Because that's
I
part of
think
self-love.
I agree, Maria. And I think when we're at peace with ourselves and our own journey, we're less likely to put judgment on our mediumship. And I
Yeah.
think that's all part of that self-love, that self-acceptance, allowing ourselves our uniqueness, our journey, our story will be utilized in the world of spirit. They'll know they can pull us and move our mind. So anything at the time that was uncomfortable or stressful for us to move through is really like, you know, I've got an amazing folder that how the spirit world can use of all experiences, both good and bad. So if I'm ever, in answer to your original statement, if I'm ever given that thanks and you do get those beautiful, moving, heartfelt moments, I'm really quite good now at being gracious and accepting that, because I know I'm involved in that movement of love. I know I'm a part of it. I know I belong to it. I know I am love. And so that, I think that changes your mediumship as you really move in and work with that power of love more so. You tend to able to extend that even beyond the reading. It's just, you become a vehicle for spirit, a conduit all the time. You start to reverberate more of that love, but from a very self-established, self-accepting place, less of that self-sacrificing, but more of knowing oneself and also understanding human nature and the nature of this journey. So yeah, I'm always feel very blessed to be part of that exchange of love.
Yeah. Would anybody else like to add anything else?
I want to say something I think is really important. You know what we're doing right here, all of us women, different ages and stuff, we're being supportive of each other. I think that one of the things that for me has been very instrumental is surround myself with people that love and support me. And they are there and they, you know, I feel like I'm not judged, I'm being embraced. Because I remember when I first started my journey, you know, in mediumship, you know, we all have good days and we all have bad days, you know. And especially when I was first starting, I will listen to these mediums that were already very established and many, many years of experience. And it seemed like at least all the readings that I was listening to, they were so great. And I do remember, and you know, I think Michelle mentioned that, was she mentioning that specific thing that we all have different, you know, different days. And I remember a couple of mediums that mentioned, you know, I didn't have a good day the other day. It went, and it's one of these mediums that I really admire, you know, and when he said, I had a really not so good reading, you know, and I was, you know, I was feeling really bad. I was so grateful that he was so honest about it, because I needed to hear that we all have those days. And that makes me think that it's so important that I choose the people that are gonna be part of my, you know, of my surroundings, of my group, you know, those people I can be honest and truthful, and they're gonna accept me for who I am.
I like that, being real and being vulnerable, because that's hard, right? And that comes with self-love, self-confidence, to get the courage to be vulnerable and to be seen. Yeah. So, ladies, as we are coming to the end of our time together, I've absolutely loved this conversation. Does anybody have anything new and upcoming? Yes, Dayna.
Well, I wasn't actually, I thought you said new or something you wanted to say. Not so much upcoming. There will be demonstrations here in the last weekend of March here in Dubbo and another outlying town. But more importantly, I just wanted to read just a 1 minute little short piece that I wrote last night, Maria.
Yes,
It did feel a little bit spirit inspired. So I hope you don't mind, ladies, if I share it. It was in thoughts in many years ago being asked to do mirror work and having to really look at oneself, because I can do makeup in 30 seconds and I'm out the door, but really looking into oneself. And so I called this little piece, Welcome Home. Oh, how do I love you? But she could not find the voice to speak sweet words to the image upon the glass. She tried to find reason why her absent voice would neither disclose the reason for silence or the words she could not compose. She had lived many years ignoring the reflection that now held her gaze. How could she now praise this version of self she had somehow let slip away? Like a scorned lover that had failed to fill the void, she would often listen to the voices of others that spoke only of trials. As she gazed, she noticed the lines threaded with her laughter and of her sorrow. As she peered, she witnessed the regret of all her undreamt tomorrows. She had denied her need to separate from another's willful gaze and established and protect the sense of self of the woman she now must face. I'm sorry, she finally spoke, and made a solemn vow that she would gaze only with gratitude at the furrows upon her brow. The insides had felt much, but the face did not disclose the many years of yearning for another life to unfold. I'm sorry, she whispered. I let you down. I let you go. I'm here now, she consoled, and I'll love you more now as we grow old. The reflection smiled back as a tear loosened upon her cheek. She had finally returned to self, and the love was within she had always sought. Welcome home. And I just think that's what I want for every woman here, is to make a home within oneself first before you choose to make a home with another.
Beautiful.
That was, oh my
Beautiful.
goodness, I got
Very-
tears. And for those of you that are listening, Miss Dayna is quite a gifted poet. She has written so much beautiful poetry over the years. I cannot wait for that book to come out, Dayna. No pressure.
It's coming slowly.
Save all those notes. Thank you so much for that heartfelt I feel like my heart just opened up as we were listening to that. I don't know, did anybody else have that? I was starting to get so emotional. But thank you, Dayna. And I will have all of the ladies' contact information in the show notes, but I am going to go around the circle, the Hollywood Squares. So if anybody has anything coming up, let me start up here with Michelle.
Friday, I am going to be in person at Cleveland Urban Winery in Cleveland Heights. That's in Ohio from 7 to 9. And I'm there the last Friday of every month in person. And also, if you check my Facebook page, Come Home to Your Heart, you'll see where I will be with all the psychic fairs and whatnot. You can also contact me for private readings. And the last thing I want to say about this beautiful conversation, everybody is so amazing here. If everyone practiced self-love, that is the one and only thing that we would have to do to change the entire world. That's it. Everything in the whole world would change with that one thing. So this was a really important conversation, and I loved listening to everybody's contribution. And thank you so much, Maria, for putting this together.
Thank you. And Dayna, do you have anything to say as I go around the circle?
There is demonstrations happening here in Dubbo, New South Wales on the weekend of the 27th and 28th of March with another lovely, beautiful Australian medium, Avril Johnston Craig, who's joined me before on the platform. So we'll have that, but I do have workshops coming up. I have an online demonstration with spiritual art with the Lorraine Coffee, and that will be online. And I also have in-person workshops that will be happening here in March. For those that want to learn the wonderful, wonderful pursuit of mediumship. So the mechanics of mediumship will be happening here in Dubbo in March. Thanks, Maria.
Nice. And Liliana.
Thank you so much. Like always, it was such a pleasure, to hear each and every one of you guys. Maria has all my information, like she said, and if you want to book a private appointment with me, yes, my website is www.mediumliliana.com. I do Instagram readings once a week for free. If you want to visit me, the information is down there, with Maria. And I also have an Instagram in Spanish too, if there's anyone that is interested on checking that out as well, where I do have a lot of information and I do also readings and whatnot. So thank you.
Perfect, because I was going to ask you, do you speak a second language? So you do them in Spanish also, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Perfect. For anybody listening out there and you want Spanish speaking, Liliana is your girl.
Thank you, ladies, for sharing the space. And Dayna, thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with all of us. I definitely felt it and could have seen myself in those moments as you were reading it out loud. So I appreciate that. If you are in the Dallas or surrounding areas, the Dallas Psychic Fair has been running for 47 years, and you can find me there almost every first Sunday of the month. If you want a reading in person and you want to see some other people who are astrologers and they are selling tarot cards and oracle cards or crystals. I also do readings in person or Zoom if you want something a little bit more private and personal. So yes, that is what I'm up to.
Nice. And Christine?
Well, thank you for everybody, and thank you for Maria to set this up. It was a good time to talk about it too. I think this is a good timely topic. And Dayna, that poem was very, very emotional. So I thank you so much for sharing that.
So thank you everybody for listening. Happy Valentine's to everybody around the world. And, you know, happy self-love day too. Yeah. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.